Did you know that the local park here has 7 Pokestops in it?
Oh
and 2
my
Really?
God,
gyms?
I hate you. We should talk about this on the podcast.
Welcome to Maker's Hustle, the podcast about turning your passion into a profession. This is episode 3 for Monday, July 25th, 2016. I'm your host, Bill Lavolsi. Joining me, as always, are Amy Davis-Roth. Hey, Amy.
Hey, how's it going?
Pretty good. And Jeffrey Moore. Hey, Jeff.
Howdy, folks. I don't know where that came from. I don't know. That was weird. That was very
That's
weird.
okay. Weird is good. Weird is good. So what's everybody working on this week? Amy, we started with you last week, so Jeff, you go first.
So last week, I let you guys know that I just sent in my application, or maybe that was 2 weeks ago, for the Makers Fair. I just got my confirmation, so I will be at Makers Fair,
Awesome.
New York World Maker Fair. If you are in New York City on August 2nd and 3rd, I believe those are the dates. Make sure you stop by the Animec Project booth. I will have a couple of other people there with me, and we're going to have a whole lot of fun. So basically, I've been working on that, just getting ready for that. And also, I have the Intel call was supposed to be this week. Ended up, I was in a hotel with terrible Wi-Fi, so I actually had to reschedule the next week. So just making sure we iron out the details for that so that we can be on the show. Win $1 million,
Awesome.
you know.
Yeah, that would be nice.
That would be
so you're
very
going to
nice.
share, right?
Oh, absolutely. We're going to I'm going to have to share with them, with my team, and then of my share, then we'll share. And then hopefully we'll keep sharing until we make enough money that
And
we
I'll
won't
get
have to share anymore.
$5.
No,
Yeah,
no.
$5
Listen,
each, everybody.
Bill,
Thanks so much.
You're going to get paid off of this podcast. All the hard work you put into this podcast, you're getting a nice check.
Okay.
Amy, you're getting a brand new. I don't know what you're going to get, but you're going to get something nice too. Because I'm a very giving guy.
I will take a brand new kiln for my art studio.
I have no idea what that is. Just send
a
it to me
truck.
on Amazon.
I will send
okay.
you an invoice.
All right.
So it looks like Maker Faire in New York this year is actually October 1st and 2nd. Jeff, I don't want you showing up 2 months early. So
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Amy, what about you? What are you doing this week?
What am I doing this week? It is so hot in the Los Angeles Valley that I cannot fire the kiln. And a kiln, Jeff, is something that you put ceramics into and heat up to 2,000 degrees approximately so that you can turn mud into a fused piece of ceramic or porcelain if you're working in porcelain. And then you also use it to glaze things, and you can use it to fuse glass and do all kinds of fun things. So it's basically like an oven, but I use it to make my art.
So is that what they use to blow glass with
No, that's just a thing to blow glass, but you can make glass art in a kiln. So it's basically like an oven that's protected, and it's created in a way that you can very precisely get it to a certain temperature. And there's different types of kilns. There's electric kilns, and there's electronic kilns, and there's even old school ones that people use wood in that are really cool. But I have an electric kiln, and that's what I use. But in the summertime, it gets so hot here that I try not to fire the kiln. Like, for example, tonight the low isn't going to get below 73 degrees. So then if I fire the kiln at night, which I usually do at night, it heats up my studio so much. I know. Right now, Bill is crying pretend tears because he lives in Las Vegas, and it is 105 here right now. But I think where you are, it's 112. But still, I can't fire the kiln because then the next day it gets too hot in the art studio for me to cool it off properly so that I can get any work done. So what I'm doing this week is I'm doing a lot of forming of clay. So I have the loose clay, and I'm making a bunch of new designs, and that's something that I can do when it's really hot out because the clay dries faster. So it's actually a benefit. So it helps me get work done. So I can't do any really painting or firing of anything, but I can really get a head start on stocking up for any of the fall events that I'm going to be doing, and I'm hopefully going to be doing Maker Faire in New York. I haven't heard back from Bus Magazine. I don't know. I did it last year, and it was a really expensive trip for me. So, kind of like okay if I don't get accepted, but I am looking forward to it either way. So that's what I've been up to.
New York is not a short trip.
No, when you're in Los Angeles, it's about as far as you can go in the same country. So.
Very true.
Yep.
Yeah, but I do love New York, and I was actually born there. I was born in Manhattan. Yeah.
There you go.
So I am a native New Yorker. So I do love going back and visiting the homeland.
Oh, really?
So,
Do you have a lot of family still here, or?
I don't actually. The only family that I still have is in upstate New York.
Upstate New York, where?
Yeah, like Constantia, which is
no idea where that is.
it's middle of nowhere. When I was younger, lived on a farm that was like on 100 acres in the middle of nowhere, and that's why I love to garden and I love animals and stuff, because I was sort of from a tiny little tot. I was raised that way. In fact, I was raised to ride horses before I could walk. So they used to put me on horses when I was little to train them, because I was the lightest one and I was never afraid. So they would just put me on horses and stuff. Anyway, I digress.
I'm not going to lie. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, it was a really lovely childhood. And
I've always wanted to be able to ride a horse without somebody holding the reins.
Yeah.
Like, that is you ever go on a field trip when you were a little kid and they just walk you in a circle?
No, I never did.
Yeah,
because
you didn't, but that was my experience riding a horse, and it was horrible.
Until like the age of 16, I rode horses professionally. I didn't even have to go to gym class in school, because I had extracurricular gym, because I was winning equitation medals and riding horses, and I really
And they gave you gym credit for that?
Yeah, they did. I got to leave like class early and go because I had a trainer and it was all legit, and they had to sign me off and everything. But yeah, like I feel like I got away with a lot because I got to go ride horses instead of being in school. But that only lasted till I was about 16 or 17, and then I had to start taking care of myself because I couldn't afford the horses. But my goal in life basically is to retire somewhere on a farm where I can have horses again.
As long as you name one Jeff.
Well, I'll name one Jeff and one Bill for sure.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah. So that's your long rambling story of what I was doing now and 30 years ago.
How about you, Bill?
Well, last week I talked about how I finally managed to insulate the garage, and it was down to a tolerable temperature. Mm-hmm. It's still there, so the first thing that I'm doing is working on a video about insulating the garage, which should be out by the time this episode hits, so that's good, because I've been neglecting my YouTube channel for a little bit too long, just because it's been so hot down there. The other thing is I bought that table saw and the jointer that I got at the same time. I've been working on kind of refurbishing them, because they're a few years old and they've been sitting in somebody's garage, so there's a little bit of rust. Things don't rust too bad out here, but it does happen. So I've been getting those things up because I've got some client work coming up, and I really need my workshop to be, clean and efficient and ready to rock. So because my table saw is 3 inches lower than my old one was, I now need to rebuild my outfeed table. An outfeed table, in case you don't know, is where your material goes after you push it off the table saw. So it's just support on the back. That way you don't have this long piece of wood just hanging off into space, because that's dangerous. So the first thing I had to do was take everything off of my old table, and now I'm in the process of breaking that down. So there'll be a video for that too. I got videos all over the place. I have like 5 or 6 in various stages of completion, but that's what I've been working on, and the garage insulation video will be out probably, I want to say today, so Monday. Yeah.
Cool. Can we have a field trip where we go to your art studio and build stuff with wood?
Yeah, sure. Come on out.
All right, cool.
It's small.
I know, but that's the whole cool thing about it, right? I mean, that's like the whole point.
That is the whole point. And I'm actually, that reminds me, I'm actually starting a new video series where I answer viewer questions specific to small workshops. I
have a question.
Yeah.
How do you create the illusion of more space in your tiny space so you don't feel trapped?
You don't.
Really? It's not like tiny houses or anything, like where you put mirrors on the
I was going to say shelving.
Yeah, mirrors, paint everything white.
Being efficient with your space is important, but as I don't think I've mentioned this on the podcast yet, but I have ADHD. So for me, actually having a small space without too many distractions is crucial. So usually if I'm working, I will have a light on over whatever I'm working on, and all the other lights are off, because it just helps me to focus. There are fewer distractions. So I'm lighting up my work area, and that's it.
Oh.
So it doesn't matter that there's a whole bunch of stuff, back behind me or whatever, because I'm not looking at that. And if I am looking at that, I'll probably stop what I'm doing and go, that should be over there, and just end up reorganizing the shop and then not get anything done.
Oh,
interesting.
You learn something new every day.
Yeah,
That's a very neat trick. I haven't thought about that.
I'm the opposite, man. I have to have all kinds of things going on at the same time. I have to have music playing or cartoons on. I have to have lots of distractions, like that keep me focused in my space, or I'll wander off.
And that is I can't do that.
Yeah.
If I have, I can't even, like I can't have the TV on when I'm working. I can't be listening to music. It's just dead silent.
Oh.
And I'm just working. And usually if I can turn lights off, I'll do that because everything is distracting. My least favorite thing in the world, I almost ruined my first date with my wife because there was a TV on in the restaurant and I couldn't stop looking at it.
Watching it.
And the thing, I didn't know I had ADHD at the time, so all I knew was that the TV was really distracting and she thought I wasn't interested.
Oh my gosh. You can't do that until like 10 years in. Take my word for it. I can do that now.
I managed to pull that one out of the fire, but still, it was close.
That's hilarious.
That's the funniest thing I've heard.
Yeah.
Today.
Me and my husband can do that now. We go out to eat and we both watch TV.
Maybe it's just me. You ever go out to eat with your significant other or any other, it doesn't matter. And like you look around, first you notice that person is always on their phone. And then you look around and you notice everybody is on their phone. They're not even talking to each other anymore.
Okay, here we go. So this weekend, like I get one night out with my husband a week because he, has a job that he's working graveyard doing editing for that show Big Brother. So I never see him while the show is running. So we get one night to hang out. So we went to Cheesecake Factory and we went there because we knew there was a Pokey stop there. So we spent the whole time, both of us, with our phones out, catching Pokemon and dropping lures so that we could catch more. And even the waitress is like, are you guys playing that Pokemon game? I'm like, yeah, isn't everybody look around? So yeah, it's just what's happening in the world today.
Oh my goodness.
It doesn't affect how much you love the person you're with.
No, I know it doesn't. I'm not even thinking about that. I wasn't thinking about it from an affection point of view. I'm thinking about it like we have really got to a place, and this is the philosophy side of me. Like we have really got to a point in our society where we are so engaged with our phones that we fail to engage with each other.
Unless you're engaging with each other on your phone.
On your phone.
Because I text with my husband like all night long while he's at work. I
think that's different. We're gonna have to cut that part out.
He doesn't actually read the text until he's on break, but
which isn't until the appointed time.
Right.
And it's the exact amount of time that he's supposed to have, and then
exactly.
he alwaay stays a little bit later than he's supposed to.
It's weird. He never texts me back. I don't know. It's strange.
All right, but let's get into the show, fellas.
And hey, like I wouldn't even be your friend, Jeff, if it wasn't for the internet. Think about that. Like when people talk about how
very true.
The internet and phones have separated us from society, I think just the opposite. I think that I have made so many wonderful connections with people, and I have literally met my best friends through the internet.
No, I agree with that, and
it.
I'm a proponent of the internet. I think that the internet age has changed the way we live our lives. I just think there's those moments when you're out to eat. Like it's really just when we're out to eat. That's the only time that I notice it. That I look around and the four tables around me, people aren't even talking to each other. They're staring in their phone. That's really all I'm talking about. The internet, I have no beef with.
We're going to go on the record here. Maker's Hustle is pro-internet.
All right. Next on the agenda.
Yeah. Before we get into this week's topic, I want to do a few quick updates and some news. First of all, we're already available on SoundCloud, Google Play, and iTunes. We are soon to be available on Stitcher. I have never used Stitcher, but apparently a lot of people do. So if you do, welcome to the show. You can now get it through Stitcher. I wanted to say thank you to Matt Cremona and the guys at Wood Talk for giving our podcast a shout out in last week's episode. If you don't know Wood Talk and you do like woodworking, first of all, I want to know what rock you've been living under because I would like to come visit sometime. Second, it is a great podcast about the technical ins and outs of woodworking. And so I want to thank all three of them. And if you're interested in woodworking, go check it out. If you're joining us from Wood Talk, please be sure to leave a comment and say hi. Okay, next item is if you like the show and you want to support it, we just launched a Patreon.
Woohoo!
So you can find us at patreon.com/makershustle. We have some great patron exclusive stuff planned. We're going to do some exclusive video clips, maybe a few mini episodes where we talk about, patron questions, like do some Q&A stuff. We're going to attempt to do some live Google Hangouts with the three of us and our patrons. Because those are fun.
Yeah.
And we love interacting with people who like the show. I mean, I love interacting with people even if they don't like the show.
And I need new internet friends, see? It's all coming together. I need more internet friends.
And those can be a lot of fun. So if you're interested in that, go check us out. It's patreon.com/makershustle. Then let's see, we got some email feedback. We got a humdinger of an email here from David the Makewright.
Hi, David.
Hi, David. Thank you so much for writing in. Jeff, I believe you wanted to address part of it.
I really I read the email and I was like, this is the kind of feedback you need to really improve your content. Right. So it's very important that if you guys hear something, you like it, don't like it, whatever, make sure you send us an email so that we can make it better, because we're here to serve you. We're here to, really touch you guys. The thing that you said that was so powerful to me was the conversation when we talked about should you value your work. You said something about thinking about the rising tides raise all boats. So if you sell your product for a cheaper price, then that's going to affect the price that somebody else is going to be able to sell your product. And I think it's very important that we understand that. And everybody, I think Amy and Bill both agree that we're not giving anything away for free. We don't want to devalue anything. But when we think about how much you're going to give something away to somebody else other than your friends and your family, then it's always going to be a marketing issue for me. That's it. It's just a matter of, is this worth the marketing? Is it not worth the marketing? If it is, then I'll take an L. If it's not, then I'm not taking an L. That's just it for me. The marketing aspect has to be worth the time. That's where the value comes from, because what you lack in price, you might make up for in marketing, return on the ROI.
Yeah.
And that's all I wanted to say. And I thought it was very important that we made that distinction.
And thank you for doing that. I do want to say real quick, for the people in the audience who don't follow sports, taking an L means taking a loss.
Taking a loss.
I kind of had to look that up.
Oh my God, I knew what that was. Anyway, I wanted to give a shout out to David. Thanks for the email. I think that what David was trying to say was that we weren't making a clear distinction between marketing and the items themselves. And
Absolutely.
And I am one of the few people that are on this podcast, I think, that sells a specific, like a product. So if I give my product away, or if I lowball the prices on my product, that affects all the other people that make the same sort of product as me. So all the other ceramic artists that make jewelry, if I start giving myself away or undercutting the price, then that lowers the value of all the products. And I think that he was just trying to say that we didn't really make that point clear enough. And so I want to make sure that, yes, we understand that. And yes, that's why I don't give my stuff away, but I do wholesale, but I make sure that my wholesale prices are at a price point where it's always going to be close to what I charge retail for. I'm very much aware of that. And then I only give away things to actual charities, and I require them to have an opening bid at their auctions that is equal to what I actually sell my stuff for. So I'm very aware of keeping a value, because I have this fantasy that my stuff's going to be worth millions someday when I die. Like, I'm only making so many, and they're all, have authentication stamps on the back. And, I have this fantasy that, like, they're going to discover the remains of earthlings, and some other creature that has inhabited the earth is going to discover surly-ramics, and they're going to be really cool things someday. So I definitely don't want to undervalue them now.
Absolutely.
But thanks so much, David. I don't know if you have any comments, Bill, but I just wanted to say thanks for the email. It was a really cool email. It was really well thought out, and we love the feedback.
Yeah.
Excellent feedback.
That's definitely something that gets discussed a lot in woodworking circles. I know, because there are a lot of people who do like the craft show circuit or the farmer's market circuit who sell, pre-made items. So they'll make a whole batch of cutting boards or wine glass holders or wine bottle holders, or just, I don't know, I'm focused on alcohol for some reason right now. But people will make a whole bunch of a product without having a client in mind, which is different from like commission work or client work, which is what I occasionally do. But in that instance, it's absolutely important that you think about how your pricing is going to affect everybody else. Because if you're trying to sell a cutting board for, if you're trying to sell like a big, thick butcher block end grain cutting board for $80, and some guy next to you is trying to sell it for $50, you're not going to sell very many cutting boards. Now, he might be taking a loss on that $50, but at some point, he's got so much into it, he's got to make rent or whatever, but he's not considering the fact that his decision to price it that way is actually affecting your business now. So whenever you make a pricing decision like that, I agree that it is incredibly important to think about how your actions are going to impact everybody else. Because as small business people, we kind of have to stick together, because we're never going to have the money, the resources, or the influence of the big people, like the big guys, the big companies. So you kind of need to look out for one another. And what ends up happening is it's not a competition between you and the other person, and it very rarely is. And this happens with content creation a lot. A lot of YouTube makers are actually friends with one another, and they'll help each other out. Matt Cremona runs his own YouTube channel, but he was a huge help to me when I was starting out. And he was very candid about, this is what I do, this is how I do it. these are the things that are important. This is what I need to pay attention to. And he wasn't, guarded about his process or anything like that. And if anything, now he's getting talked about on another podcast, and people are going to hear this who didn't know who he was, and he might pick up a few more fans from that. So
very true.
By helping each other out, by helping each other out, you actually help yourself too.
Absolutely.
Because you also increase the size of the audience total for whatever thing you're doing.
Absolutely. Your network equals your net worth.
Oh, that's great.
Catchy.
I just saw, I don't know where I saw it, somewhere on the internet, a really cool thing that was about women artists and how it was like 10 popular women artists giving advice to people starting out. And one of the things that really stuck with me was that you need to help other people. You need to lift up the people below you. And I see so much competition, particularly amongst women, because we're sort of trained to be in competition with each other from such a young age, which is a terrible thing. And I've really tried my hardest throughout my career to help out as many people as I can. And I honestly think that that's why I've been able to maintain my business over the years, because of the support of so many people, because I'm not one of those people that is going to go around hating on other people that make stuff like me. I'm totally willing to, like you said, be candid and help people out, and I think that's extremely important.
Yeah.
All right.
So thank you again, David. Obviously,
Thanks, David.
We just had another great discussion just based on your feedback, so thank you for that. If you have feedback, you can reach us at info@makershustlepodcast.com. Go ahead, write in. We might read it on the air. Or talk about it, at least.
We'll definitely talk about it.
We'll definitely
or we'll delete
talk about
it.
it.
It
If we have
depends.
no
Delete
other,
it.
if we
Pretend it
have
never
nothing else
happened.
to talk about, we'll talk about
Depends
it.
on what you say.
We might critique your grammar. So
There is a screening process, and we will check your spelling.
Very true.
All right. So let's move on to this week's topic, which is going pro. This is a big one for all of us, I think. It's something that's been on my mind, and it's part of the reason why we started this podcast. There's a lot of interest out in the maker community about making stuff full-time. So what we're going to talk about today is what it means to be a pro, like a full-time maker. How do you do it, and how do you know when it's time to make that jump? So let's start with, what do you think it means to be a pro, like a full-time maker? What does that mean to you? Now, I can start if you want. I've got something.
Whatever. I can
You guys can
start.
start.
Okay.
Whatever.
So in my mind, there are 3 different levels, okay?
Oh, I have 3 levels too.
You have
Well,
3
I didn't
levels
write
too?
anything down,
I
but
have
if
a
I did, I
list.
probably
Yeah.
have 3 levels too.
Amy has a list. I suspect this is going to become a recurring thing. Amy has a list.
I just I'm one of those people that has to always be on time, and I have to be at least slightly prepared, okay? So I'm sorry about my lists, but yes.
No, I was 10 minutes late to the podcast this week.
I,
I'm sorry.
I only have 3 things on my list, but
I
so
have a
do
lot
you.
more than 3.
Okay.
I have a long list. Okay.
Oh, great.
But anyway, I think that there are 3 basic tiers, okay? You've got your hobby, which is when you're just tinkering around in your shop or your studio, or, you come home from work and you just mess around with whatever your passion is, and you just kind of do it on the side. And you're not necessarily trying to make a profit. If you do sell something, that money is going back into your hobby.
Which is how you start a business, but okay.
Right, but you can be doing that without having starting a business like in mind when you do it.
Right.
You can be, well, I'm going to sell some cutting boards so I can afford a new table saw or whatever, or I'm going to sell some necklaces so I can afford a better kiln.
Yeah.
Or I'm going to sell some robots so I can afford a laser cutter, that kind of thing.
I'm going to sell some robots so I can take over the world.
Right. And then
Right.
there's the term that gets used a lot is side hustle,
Okay.
which is essentially you're trying to make a profit from it. You're trying to make it a paying gig, but it is still not your main job. You still have
Yeah.
a day job or a career. So a side hustle would be at that level where, I have an office job or I'm, I work construction or whatever it is that you do. And then on weekends and evenings, you go either make things or produce content, and you're trying to make some money from that.
That was number 1 on my list.
That was number 1 on
Yeah,
your
because
list?
my list is slightly different. It's like, how do you know when it's time to become pro?
I do want to get to that.
Oh, okay.
I just kind of want to start it because a lot of people, I think, are at that hobby level, and they're trying
Yeah.
to figure out how to go directly from hobby to full-time. And there is that in-between step, and I think that's
Yeah.
important.
I agree.
But yeah, so then there's that third level, which is where, okay, you're doing it full-time, which is where, Amy, you're there, and you've been there for a decade.
Yep.
I just got there. I'm still I'm there because I have to be. I had planned to be doing this as a side hustle for a couple of years, but then I lost my job, so oops. So now this is it. So Amy, it sounds like you've got some thoughts on this, so why don't you go ahead?
Well, I put together just a really short list about when you know it's time to be pro or to go pro. And I think that number one is, you make money, but you still have a regular job, but that still makes you a pro if you are making money. I mean, by definition, I think that professional means that you're getting paid for what you do. And I think that a lot of people out there maybe are a little bit too hard on themselves because they want to be professionals, but they don't consider themselves professional. It's like imposter syndrome. They're like, but if you're getting paid, if someone's paying you for something, then you are by definition already a pro. And so if you have another job, that's okay. And I also read another interesting thing. I think it was on that same women artist list, that it's actually okay to have a job and be a maker on the side. And there's benefits to that because no one can actually tell you what to do when you're in that position. You don't have clients that you're depending on to pay your bills. So if you have another job, that's great. Because then you have the freedom to create whatever you want to create without any kind of restraints or anyone telling you what to do. In my position, while I still have freedom to create, now that I'm full-time, I really have to make sure that I listen to my customers and that I do a lot of custom orders that I normally maybe wouldn't want to do as an artist. To me, I find them, not that interesting. But I need to do those because I'm a full-time maker. If I were to have another job, and so I didn't depend on that money, then I would probably have a lot more freedom.
Well, I completely understand that because if I had my choice, I would not be taking any client work at all. Because at that point, I'm making something for someone else. They are paying me to do it. I am beholden to them. So if I get to a point where my content creation is paying the bills, I'm not going to take any more client work. But in the meantime, I have to do it because I have to. I mean, you have to do what it takes. And that, I think, is a really important thing that a lot of folks are worried about, which is if you have a hobby that you love and you enjoy and it's your passion, as soon as you have to do it, it sucks some of the fun right out of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I tell people that a lot. It's definitely true. It becomes a job. When it becomes a job, it will become a job. And you have to remind yourself of why you love it and why you started doing it in the first place. And every day I'm grateful that I'm in a position to make art for a living. It was a goal of mine. It was a dream of mine, and it's happening. And I'm very thankful for that. But there are days, like I always say, where you have to do work. And that work isn't always creative. It's sometimes it's a pain in the butt.
A friend of mine, he has this saying that I love, and he says, sometimes you make art and sometimes you make rent.
Yeah, that's very, very true. That's why I started my Patreon, so that I could still make art that was specifically for me, like whatever I wanted to make art about, I could, and I could stick to science themes and the stuff that I really love. Yeah. And surly-ramics has become, my day job. So I make sure that I get enough work done for that every day so that I can still maintain my professional status. So I basically had three things of how you know or when you're ready to go pro. And so that first one is you make money, but you still have a regular job. So I still think that makes you a pro. The second one is you become a professional maker or a full-time maker because you have to, because you're making too much money. So this is a situation that might occur if you're making so much money that you have to pay taxes or a lot of taxes, or that it's interfering with your regular job and you're owing too much taxes. I don't know if that makes sense, but I think that
absolutely.
If you I believe it's in California, you can do freelance jobs that are $500 or less, and then you don't have to file them if you're not a business, if you're freelance. But once you go, and don't quote me, I'm not a tax advisor, find a tax advisor. I honestly don't know what I'm talking about fully because I have an accountant who handles all this stuff for me. But I do know that once you reach a certain amount, you have to have a business license. And you have to become a business once you start making a certain amount of money. So that's the second reason to become pro. And then the third reason would be because you're ready to take that risk and you seriously love what you do and you believe in it so much that you absolutely have to. And in that scenario, then there's a whole bunch of little qualifications that you need to be careful of. You need to make sure you've set up enough money in case you fail, like I did miserably the first time I started a business, and I didn't have a savings account, and I lost everything, and I ended up living in my car until it was repossessed, and I had nowhere to live, and I had literally nothing, and I was bankrupt. Okay, don't be young Amy. Be adult Amy. And save up before you start a new business, and have a savings account, a business account, get a business license, get a good name, do all the things that you need to do before you take that leap.
That is, I didn't get to do that because I was kind of shoved into this So I'm still kind of working on those, kind of working backwards to where I should have been when this happened in December, and it's July. But the good news is I'm not making very much money yet, so I'm not going to get in trouble. Hooray!
That's good. That's good.
It's two things that I thought of. One is a Stephen King quote that I heard a while back. It was about imposter syndrome and when you're a professional. And he said, here's when you're talented, okay? If you write something and you sell it to somebody and they send you a check and the check doesn't bounce,
Yeah.
and then you use it to pay the light bill, you're talented.
Yeah.
And that just made me think, yeah, if you sell things and then you use that money to keep the lights on, guess what? You're a pro.
Yeah.
You can stop feeling like an imposter now because you're doing it.
Yeah. Imposter syndrome could be an entire episode, I think, because it's something that we all experience. I mean, like you said, I've been doing this for 10 years, and I've been sort of in the public eye because of Skepchick and the other, politically activist type stuff that I do or whatever. But I still, freak out now and then about doing stuff, and I don't think I'm good enough, just like everyone else does, and I have to convince myself that yes, you can do this. So it happens to everyone.
But I really think that and this isn't just with being a maker, I think this is with anything that you do. I think people are afraid to take risks. And Amy, I know you spoke a little bit about being bankrupt and having to live out your car, but had you not gone through that, right, you probably wouldn't be as successful as you are right now.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? So I think there's a certain level of just do it, like Nike, just do it, that you have to, really experience.
And I'm glad I did that when I was young.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Because living out of your car and all that ain't so bad when you're in your 20s or whatever. I wouldn't want to do it now.
That's that's really crucial. I think if you're going to take a crazy risk like that, not crazy, but if you're going to take a risk like that, it helps if you're young and you have no, you don't have a family, you don't have kids, you don't have people to support. It's a lot easier to recover from a disaster like that, Yeah. Something I actually talked about with Jimmy DiResta not too long ago, and then he mentioned it on the podcast, but he's mentioned that he's gone broke several times. Not bankrupt, not like had to file for bankruptcy, but like flat broke. Like I'm have
broke
anywhere
right now.
Yeah. Like I have no job, I have no money coming in, and I got to make rent. And his thing is always that fear doesn't help. And so the saying that they have in their family, I guess, is, they're not going to take away your birthday. Past a certain point, you can't lose anything else. What are they going to do? Are they going to come by and take away your birthday? No. You're going to survive. You're going to get past it. And so his outlook has always been, even if I have nothing else, I have my skills, I have my ability to make stuff.
Even nobody could take that from you.
And nobody can take that from me. So even if whatever else I'm doing completely crashes and burns, I can pick myself up and do something else.
Absolutely.
So I think you to think of it that way. Go ahead, Jeff.
A couple of things. So to answer the question, going pro, I think I had 2 levels, but after listening to you guys, I switched it to 3. So I have the hobbyist, the person who's just doing it because they like to make stuff. They like to do stuff. And I think like in Universal. So this isn't even just for makers. This is like if you like to cook and you cook for your cousin's wedding just because you like to cook and you wanted to do that.
Yeah.
And you're not thinking about going pro or starting a catering company. You're not thinking about starting a ceramics company. You're not thinking about content creating. You're just making YouTube videos because you want to, right? Mm-hmm. And whether you have a big following or not, you're going to continue to do it. So I got the hobbyist. Then I have the hobbyist with a website. All right. So hobbyist with a website, that's somebody who's in the middle. You're getting a little money, but it's not enough to make you think, oh, well, this is something that I want to do. All right. So you're not completely dependent on it, nor are you thinking about being completely dependent on it, but you see the value in doing it and you see the value in promoting yourself as you do it. And then I have the professional, which in my mind has nothing to do with the amount of money that you make. It has nothing to do. I don't think that, because there's people who have like professional jobs who do things other than their professional job. And I don't like to put myself in a box. So I don't just call myself a maker, even though I'm on the Maker's Hustle. I don't just call myself a maker because I'm a teacher. Well, I lied on the interview. I told you guys I was a maker and maker only just to get in the door. But now I'm here. So now you guys got to deal with all of that comes with me.
Touché.
Right. But I think it's very important that we don't put ourselves in any of these boxes. Like you really just got to follow your heart and do what feels natural. And what my suggestion is when it's time to go pro It's time to go pro when the thing that you love to do, you can't see yourself doing anything else and you want to do that all the time. Whether you're ready for it or not, whether you thought like, oh, yo, this could be a business and this is something you've been planning to do for the last 5 years, or you just made a one video and you were like, oh, this video was kind of cool. People like it. You know what? I think I should dive into this. I think when the thing that you love to do, that your passion becomes such that you literally don't want to wake up and do whatever it is, like your regular day job. Let's say you're working on Wall Street and you're like, yo, I just made this awesome table, woodworking table. Like, it's beautiful. People love it. I eat at it every day. I want to make this for other people. That to me, and you sell one, your first table is sold, you're a professional. That's in my mind. I don't care how much money you make, because you'll never make enough money. So it's never a conversation about how much money you're making or bringing in. Yeah,
I think that's a really interesting point that you bring up, because the fact that we are all makers, whether or not you deny it or not, Jeff.
I'm not only a maker. I'm a maker and.
Yes. Okay. As makers, though, we pride ourselves, I think, most of us anyway, in using our hands, ourselves, like creating something out of nothing. And we will never be the 1% doing that.
Absolutely.
Unless you're Adam Savage and you get a TV show, right? But I mean, what are the odds of that happening? The majority of us
he's not even, even though Adam is my guy, like top 5 creative people on the planet, he'll never be that 1%. He'll never be the one to drive the economy. He'll never be the one to make influence policy and all that.
And the rest of us, though, will never even get anywhere close to the amount of money that he has, because we are making things with our hands, and we are not importing stuff from China. We are actually making things one by one. And so I think you sort of have to accept that you're going to live a certain kind of lifestyle if that's what you're doing. And your life can be extraordinarily happy and fulfilling because you're doing what you love every day.
Absolutely.
You probably won't own a mansion.
Absolutely. And you could. There's some YouTube guys out there that are making $1 million a year.
Yeah.
But again, it's not a matter of
the average person, though. I want to encourage the average like guy or gal out there that's just like making stuff. You love to create. You love to make something new. Like, keep at it. Do it.
Absolutely.
Don't give up, and don't be hard on yourself if you're not in the right tax bracket.
Okay. There's a maker. His name is Izzy Swan. You can find him on YouTube. You probably have seen some of his videos. He made a giant Tyrannosaurus that walks. It's powered by a drill. But a million other things. But
that is the most beautiful name I've ever heard.
Izzy
Swan?
Yeah, it's great. But he did an interview on another podcast called Makercast, which, if you haven't heard it, go check it out. And he had a quote. I'm paraphrasing here, but Jeff, you said you're never going to make enough money, so just get over it. And what Izzy said was, if all you want out of this life is money, that's easy. Okay,
exactly.
You go work for somebody else and you hate it. And if you want to be happy, that's going to take work.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So something that I found since I started doing this full time is I don't need as much money as I thought I did. Because a lot of the stuff that I was spending money on was stuff to make me forget the fact that I was miserable at work.
Hang on, Bill. Let me ask you. Not let me ask you, but again, I think about things in universals. So, like, if you're making $1 million a year, right, but you have $1 million in expenses, you're still broke.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And people tend to think like, oh, all I need to do is make more money. Mm-hmm. But then the more money they make, the more their expenses go up because they think that they can spend more money.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So that's why I say you're never going to have enough money, because money is this thing. Like the dollar bill isn't even worth the paper that it's printed on. Right. Most of our money is actually electronic. Nobody even uses money. If they do use money, it's very sparingly. Most of the time they're swiping a debit card or a credit card. And that's a whole nother conversation. So the concept of money is really just this subjective thing that we put a lot of emphasis on because we're looking for something of value versus using the things like our hands.
Yeah.
Right. So we put value on money versus putting value on our quality of life, the things that we do, our relationships with people. Like we use
satisfaction and
money,
happiness.
We equate money with all those other things.
Yeah.
So that's why
we equate money with success, and if you have money, you're successful.
Exactly.
And that's actually the other thing that thank you for reminding me. you were talking about you can be a professional without and still have a day job. And something that I wanted to point out was that I completely agree. I think you can be a professional even if you're doing this as your side hustle, you know? Because to me, being a professional is, like trying to, just be excellent at whatever it is that you do.
Absolutely.
And share that excellence with other people, whatever it is that you're doing. Because, I mean, I consider myself a professional content creator, and I'm, if I count the value of all the hours that I put into this, I'm operating at a loss.
Absolutely.
I was a much more successful office drone than I ever will be a maker. But
Well, don't say that, Bill.
Well,
I have faith in you.
But you get what I'm trying to say, okay? But I think the difference here is that I'm happy, okay? I'm satisfied, and all that junk, all that garbage that I went out and did and wanted to do when I had my office job, I don't need that stuff anymore, because now it's like, oh, what do you want to do? Do you want to go see a movie? No, I'd rather, go spend a couple hours in the shop. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
I'd rather go get to work on my next project. That would be cool.
That's how I feel all the time.
Yeah. Like, Jeff, when you get home, what do you want to do?
Well, I just spent a week in a training class where I was learning therapeutic crisis intervention, and I'll be honest with you, I don't want to build robots today. I don't want to build...
Okay, how about on an average day? Like, you go to work.
No, you're absolutely
home,
right. You're absolutely right. I do. I was just speaking. It's been a long week.
It's
been a very long week. But no, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And that's when we talk about the things that we talk about on this show, there's really no real answer. You know what I'm saying? It's always going to be it depends.
It's like life that way. Okay.
Exactly.
I'm going to get all philosophical on you. Here we go. Life isn't you're not trying to get somewhere and then you're done. You're not trying to get to, okay, I've got $1 million. I'm a millionaire.
Exactly. It's
I'm
the
done.
journey. It's the process.
I'm just going to sit here and twiddle my thumbs now. It's that same thing. The point of this podcast is not to answer the question. It's to discuss the question and maybe cause other people to think about it in a different way.
Absolutely.
And hopefully we can help some people do that. Because something that I mentioned earlier, that Matt Cremona was a big help to me when I was starting out. And one of the things that he helped me think about was, he said, listen, I'm not a woodworker for a living. I don't sell woodworking products to pay the rent. I'm a content creator. And part of what that means is that I don't get to do as much woodworking as when I was just a hobby woodworker. Because now the product is content creation.
Mm-hmm.
The woodworking that I do is in service of making a video.
Absolutely. The editing and all that other stuff is the job.
Yeah, and that's something that you have to consider before you dive into this full time, is if what you love is woodworking and you make YouTube videos on the side, as soon as you start doing this professionally, you are now going to spend more time making videos than you do woodworking. You're going to spend more time marketing your stuff and being active on social media than you do woodworking. So that's an important thing to think about. And I think I don't want anyone to lose their passion because they misunderstood exactly what taking that leap was going to entail.
Powerful stuff.
Now, I went into this thing with my eyes open. And I know, Amy, you did too, because you had your earlier just crash and burn experience. And that was, it really is. It's the firsthand education of what it feels like to just completely lose.
To fail, to fail miserably. Yeah.
That is really important. And it's really,
and it's really okay.
Yeah.
In the end, to fail.
And I think that is probably the most important thing that I took away from it. I don't know about you, but I realized that I could completely fail at this and it would not be the end of the world.
Absolutely.
Correct. Yeah.
I will recover, I will find something else, and we'll move on.
At the moment it was happening, I felt like it was the end of the world. But, in retrospect and from experience, I can tell you that it is not. And you are a better person for having tried.
And Amy, it's very important that you said that, because for those of you out there who are in that situation where it feels like the end of the world.
Yeah, it's not.
It's going to feel like the end of the world.
But it's not.
Don't let us, even though we're over here being very optimistic, when you're in it, it sucks. But there's the light at the end of the tunnel. If you keep working hard.
I'm optimistic until the power bill shows up, and then I realize I gotta scratch together some money.
I gotta go get some client work.
I gotta go take some client work. You know why? It's summer in Las Vegas, and that means a $300 power bill, because that's what happens.
Same here. It's ridiculous.
Oh, that's because of the AC.
Yeah, it gets so hot here.
My AC is broken. I gotta fix it.
Oh, but you're fine, and we don't understand that. Because...
No. It's hotter than you. Okay, it's not 100. It's not 115 hot, but 95 in New York is hot. I'm like a 70s guy. Once it gets to that 80s, 85s, I'm done. 90s, I can't even function.
Yeah. I thought you looked a little glowy this week, Joe.
No, listen, I'm super tan. I went to the beach last weekend. The tan hasn't gone away. I live in a
Jeff is
third
looking
story
good,
apartment. I live on the third floor in a 6-story apartment. Just climbing up the stairs was
dude.
terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible. I could barely breathe.
So I think what I want to transition into, if we still have the time, and I think we do,
Yeah, I think
is
okay.
we talked about knowing when it's time to make that jump, but I want to talk about a few steps that you can take when you're ready to make that jump, just to, because failing is okay, and we just talked about that. But I want to talk about some things that you can do to make sure that you don't fail, or at least to know when you are, so it's not a surprise. So one of the things that I did, no, I'm serious. It sounds funny. It sounds funny when I say it, but something that I encourage you to do is to set a goal for yourself. Like when I started this channel, I said, all right, I've got a year and I need to get to 10,000 subscribers and or $1,200 a month in income from all my various whatever it is that I'm doing, because that is enough to get me off unemployment. That is how much I would be getting from an unemployment check in a month. I need to be at least at that level, or I need to go find another job, because at that point, I'm broke. I'm like truly broke. And the 10,000 subscribers, I mean, that's just setting a goal for yourself and then being honest with yourself about whether you're meeting that goal or not. Now, if it turns out that that goal is unreasonable or not going to be met, it's okay to adjust it. It's just not okay to continually move the goal yourself and then lie to yourself about it.
Yeah.
Because
Absolutely.
you absolutely have to be honest with yourself, because you work for yourself, okay? And if it fails, the only person impacted is you, and your family, but you mostly. So, you can be optimistic to everybody else and then go home and go, okay, I really need to put it together. Like I need to bust my ass this month because
Absolutely.
I got to make
Goals
this
are
happen.
good.
Yeah, goals are really important.
Real quick, before you say that, I think it's very important because I'm guilty of this. So basically I have companies that I'm putting money into every month. You know what I'm saying? And because I'll get distracted or because I just don't feel like working on it, I'm basically throwing money away, which is fine because I make up for it over here. So I do like 5 different things and I got money coming in, so I can float other businesses. But I think it's very important that if you're going to make those excuses, you have to be able to support those excuses. So I make excuses and I justify them like, oh, well, this month I'm just going to be throwing money away. And I'm okay with that. I understand it, but that's the honest aspect of it.
Yeah.
Right. Don't do that and don't say like, oh, well, I can float it, but there's no long-term goal. There's no nothing to support that.
Yeah, don't float it without a reason for floating
Yeah.
it. Like you have to have at least a goal for, that business is going to pay back the other business.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like that's very important that I say that, because there's some people out there who will float it like, oh, but there's no next step for it anyway. So they're just really throwing money away. Me, I'm just fake kind of throwing money away.
Well, that's part of why I talked about a deadline, because I know if I don't set one for myself, if there's no deadline, I'll never get anything done, So it's important for me, and this is another thing about, you have to know yourself, So if you're a person who needs a deadline, then set one. If you're a person who needs someone to look over your shoulder and make sure you're working, then have some, enlist one of your friends or family to do that for you. I know that if I don't set my deadline was a year. And if I don't set that, I'm just going to be doing this forever, and I'll never know if I'm successful or not, because I'm just going to go, oh, well, it's getting better. It's getting better. But it can be slowly getting better forever and never get there.
Very true.
Your accountant and the taxman will tell you if it's getting better.
Well, I don't have an accountant yet, because if I did, I couldn't afford to pay him.
Okay. All right. So I think that's it for today.
Yep. I think that is it for the day. So let's see. Do we have recommendations?
I don't have anything specific. I'm actually in the process of purchasing a house.
Ooh.
And I am, when we talk about like what kind of content are you consuming, I'm actually looking at a lot of like home improvement videos.
I love those.
We should
So
talk.
I'm
Oh my
really
gosh.
excited. And I don't have the house yet, but when I get it, I'll be ready, Billy.
Yeah.
Yeah, on that note, I'll say something that may sound a little lofty, but literally when I started Surly-Ramics and I was still a waitress at the time, I told a customer out on the patio that my goal was to make enough jewelry and sell it to have enough money to put a down payment on a house. And I reached that goal about 4 years in.
There you go.
Yeah, so you can do it out there, people.
There you
And that's
go.
great.
Yeah.
Congrats on getting a house.
Yeah, man, that's awesome.
That's really cool.
Well, part of the, and this is part of the strategic plan, but and I'm letting the secret out there. So for those of you who are thinking about going pro, purchase a multifamily house, right? You get a multifamily, you live in it, and you have somebody else pay the rent. That way you're living rent free. That way, little bit of extra money can go to your business or can support you. Wink, wink. All right.
Yeah.
So that's what we're doing over here.
So
That's smart business,
you said you're
actually.
looking at home improvement videos, but really what you're doing is going to landlord school.
A little bit of both. The landlord school, I went to landlord school by renting from people, and I learned what to do and not to do.
Jeff, can you Airbnb that out for me so if I come to New York next
Hey.
time so I can stay at your place? I might need a room.
I'll be honest with you, the way they're doing the legal things here, I don't know how much longer they're going to be
They're gonna have
Airbnb in New York, because they're fighting that hard.
Well, what I meant by Airbnb
No, I
was,
know.
can I stay at your
Absolutely.
place? Please ask your wife if it's cool.
They'll be okay.
I have a recommendation for something this week, and it really doesn't have anything to do with science, unfortunately. Usually that's my main thing. But I have been so wrapped up in the horrifying landscape of politics and the Republican convention and all of that I sort of shut down emotionally. And I went and found this print that I absolutely love that was done by Shepard Fairey, and he's not one of my favorite artists, but there's this super cool print he did that says "Make art, not war," and I'm wearing the t-shirt. I'll show you guys. You can see it's a Shepard Fairey print, and you can also get the poster, and you can get it in a t-shirt, and it is my mantra now: make art, not wars. All the artists out there, you guys should be making some political art of some sort, because we need to fix things. This world is a mess. So that's my recommendation.
Cool.
We should do a political episode.
We should
Whew.
make political art.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw it, but I just got the chills, and not the good kind. I'm terrified. All right, so my recommendation for the week, in case you didn't guess it already, I've already dropped his name a couple of times, Matt Cremona. Specifically, he did a live series of what he calls Ask Matt, where it's like 45 minutes, and people in the chat will give him questions, and he'll answer them. And every single time he does it, somebody writes in with, how do I quit my job and do what you're doing? How do I become a full-time woodworker or a full-time maker? And Matt, to his credit, answers it every single time to the best of his ability, even though he's had to say it 1,000 times before. So I want to thank you, Matt, for being that candid and that patient with every single new person who's starting out, including me. Matt is an incredible woodworker. If you like, watching someone just build something, if you just like watching somebody who's good at what they do, you should watch his stuff. Because even if you have no interest in hand-cut dovetails or traditional joinery or milling your own lumber or whatever else he does, you should watch his stuff, because he just does everything that he does to the absolute best of his ability, and it's fascinating to watch. So Matt Cremona, we'll have a link in the show notes. Go check it out.
Matt, you sound really cool. Please make a politically inspired table.
I just pictured something in my head, and it scared the heck out of me.
So since that's it for this week, let's real quick. Amy, where can everybody find you?
At Surly Amy. Search me pretty much anywhere. You can find me on Twitter at Surly Amy. Go to surly-ramics.com. It's got links to pretty much everywhere where I am at.
Okay. Jeff, what about you?
Well, I'm terrible with social media.
I know.
You need to fix that.
I know. I'm gonna get better.
Why do you think
Oh, we gotta stay friends.
So, so if you want to get in contact with me, you can find me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at more MOORE _4 FOUR. And I am on there. I do a lot of reposting. Not too much of an original poster. I'm gonna get better at that, but now that I have this, I have motivation.
Yeah, and every week that you don't come up with some original content, I'm going to bother you about it.
Yes, I know.
In front of everyone.
And I need that. I'm just like earlier when you said you need somebody in your ear. Bill, I need you in my ear.
Okay. Well, now you've literally got me in your ear.
Literally, right now.
Literally
with
right now
headphones on.
with headphones. So if anybody wants to watch my videos, read my content, I am usually at One Car Workshop. I'm at One Car Workshop on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and the website is onecarworkshop.com. If you want to find my articles on Make Magazine, it's under my name, Bill Lavolsi. Go check it out. I write about some really cool people. So that's it for this week. I want to thank everybody for joining us. If you are listening to the show on iTunes, please leave us a rating and a review, even if your opinion is that you hate it. We'd still want to hear about it. So you can find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook at Makers Hustle. You can find us on the web at makershustlepodcast.com. If you want to ask a question, contribute a topic, or apply for a replacement host because we're getting rid of Jeff, it's info@makershustlepodcast.com. Again, thanks everybody for listening. That's it for this week. And remember, the hustle never stops. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thanks
Bye.
for listening.